Sign up for free Stratfor Intelligence. Simply enter your email address to receive 2 free reports each week.
South Korean media is reporting that the government is considering once again separating the issue of demanding an apology for the sinking of the Cheonan from the resumption of inter-Korean talks and ultimately the resumption of six-party nuclear talks. Domestically in South Korea, the issue is somewhat contentious. On the one hand, they don't want to be seen as allowing North Korea to carry out such actions and then ultimately rewarding them for bad behavior. On the other hand, as the North Koreans continue along their own path and along their own provocations, there's a question of whether the South Korean government is actually capable of managing North Korean relations and managing its neighbor. From the South Korean perspective, there's an assessment that really the only way to get an apology from the North Koreans would have to be directly from Kim Jong-il. In May of this year, the South Koreans and the North Koreans held not-so-secret talks in Beijing. The North Koreans eventually revealed that the talks took place, blamed the South Koreans for begging them to come back to the table. The South Koreans have suggested that, in fact, those talks were about finding a way around the Cheonan issue. There's been some pressure on the South Koreans, given the timing, to make some progress on the North Korean issue to be able to bring North Korea back into negotiations. The North Koreans have hinted that they may be nearing another nuclear test. They're completing the work on one of their new missile launching facilities, so there's thought that they may be preparing another long-range missile test. And these are things that can once again increase tensions on the Korean Peninsula, but also raise questions about the stability overall, and that can ultimately have an economic impact on the South Koreans. There's been a fair amount of diplomatic activity in the background between the different players that are part of the six-party talks. The South Koreans talking to the U.S. talking to the Japanese, several countries talking to China. And China always sits at the center of the North Korean issue. China is the one country that maintains fairly strong relations with North Korea. It's also the economic lifeline for Korea. As we look at the Chinese, they certainly are making a fair amount of rhetoric that they want a resumption of talks, that they want to bring North Korea back in, that they want to reduce the tensions in the area. The Chinese have frequently been able to leverage their relationship with North Korea in dealing with other countries in the region. If there's a particularly stressful time in their relationship, say with the South Koreans or with the United States over economic or defense issues, they may be able to hold up the North Korean card and remind those countries that China is the only one that can rein in North Korea, rein in the strange behavior of the North Koreans. At the moment, we don't necessarily see that the Chinese are fully interested in a resolution of the Korean crisis, but they do seem to be interested in a resumption of talks so that they once again can play this North Korean card, that they can really exploit this leverage that they have. In the end, the issue of inter-Korean reconciliation, of North Korea's nuclear program, is not a question just of whether the South and the North can come to talks, but really a question of where the Chinese stand and where the United States stands, and to some extent even where the Russians and the Japanese position themselves.